Hello there, and welcome to another installment of Girl Boss and Bourbon, where I, your host, Brent Shout, review Girl Boss episodes whilst drinking some bourbon. Today's episode is episode number 3, and this is titled Thank You, San Francisco. And to be real with y'all, not much happens in this episode, so don't get your hopes up. If your hopes were up at all, that is. So, where we left off, Sophia got the old woman's clothes, and now we find her back at her apartment. So we see her in her apartment, and her biggest dilemma, and the only significant part of this entire episode, is that she's trying to find a name for her newfound business that she also doesn't want to call it business because she doesn't want to be part of the system. So it's a name for her eBay username, I guess, which she already has an eBay account, so she probably already has a username. But, suspension of disbelief, we're supposed to just kind of, go along with the hand waviness of she needs a name. So we're going to explore how she gets her name in this episode. And like I said, nothing much happens in this episode. She visits Shane again and says, hey, you want to get some burritos? And he's like, sure. And then they talk about burritos for like 5 minutes. Everything kind of always circles back to burritos. Shane doesn't like San Francisco for valid reasons, but on the other hand, Sophia loves San Francisco because it's weird and crazy, and it's a reflection of herself. Hence, thank you, San Francisco. So during their date, but asterisk, because it's not really called a date yet. We don't know. They go get burritos. They, of course, no date is fully finished unless you're stealing something, per Sophia and how she does life. So, of course, they go into this old theater. They find wine. Apparently this theater sells wine, but like no one's manning any booth or anything. So they go behind this counter, get wine, put it in Coca-Cola cups, and take that throughout the city, just drinking in public. And sounds like a great date. Shane's loving it. He's enjoying it. They go to a like an arcade touristy type thing, and this is where Shane is doing the claw machine, and he gets a prize, and the prize is a Rubik's Cube. And then they just decide to go home after that because I guess that's cool enough to just end the date. So on the bus ride home, she's looking at this Rubik's Cube, and she's like, I got it. I'm gonna name my shop Rubik's Vintage. And Shane's like, that's a great idea. Then a few moments later, she's just looking at the Rubik's Cube, and she's like, you know what? This is not unique enough because I'm Sophia and I'm a unique person, and this feels like I'm just riffing off of what the Rubik's Cube already created. So she needs something more unique. And then Shane's like, okay, come on, let's go. They're on the bus, and they're like, our stop's right here. And Sophia's like, no, I need to figure this out. I'm not gonna get off the bus with you. So that's when Shane's like, what? We just had this whole date, and now you're just acting like this? And then this is when she lays it on pretty heavy of, I never called this a date. This was just me figuring out my name for my eBay shop. And so Shane's hurt. Shane's not feeling good. But all of a sudden, as Shane's stepping off the bus, she has an epiphany. And she says, you know what? I'm just going to listen to the city. And so she goes and gets Shane, brings him to a drag show. And yeah, at that moment, she's just, I guess, going with the vibe of the city, if you want to call that. Goes to the drag show, starts singing a song along with the person in drag on stage, and then the lyric pops up, nasty gal something or other. She ends that and she's like, oh, nasty gal, that's it, that's unique, as if that wasn't a lyric in a song. I like Rubik's Cube. I'm team Rubik's Cube, not team nasty gal. But she finds this out and she is all about it, and she is like focused, just laser focused. Meanwhile, Shane is just sitting there, and he's like, that's cool. But then she just leaves, and as is her fashion. Camera pans back to Shane, and Shane has just this nicest smile, as if he's just enamored by her. But I'm pretty shocked by it. So, but who knows? We know nothing about Shane, so he's sticking around for some reason. We just know that Shane's a drummer, and that now he manages bands. So he manages bands, but he's also in a band. A lot of questions about Shane we need to figure out, but we'll see what we find out. But yeah, like I said, not much happens in this episode. She finds her name for her eBay shop, which was, worthwhile for a whole episode to figure out, and she lands on Nasty Gal Vintage. Yeah, she thinks people will like that. But other than that, the rest of the plot is an open book, so we will see where she takes us. And knowing Sophia thus far, we have no idea where she'll take us. So see you next time on Girl Boss and Bourbon.